right, welcome everybody. My name is Carlos. I am the Pathways Program Assistant for the Area Health Education Center for Western Washington. And I am delighted to be here with you all today. And I get the privilege of introducing Kathrina Westby-Sharman. Kathrina is a healthcare professional with over 30 years of leadership experience. She works for HealthPoint Community Health Centers as the Vice President of Patient Experience and Clinic Operations. HealthPoint's mission is to improve the health of our communities, and the communities we serve are highly inclusive of BIPOC, first generation, refugees, and low income patients. We are a safety net provider. We strive to hire from our communities and ensure that the patients we serve feel welcomed and safe in their care with us. Her corporate experience spans operation leadership, project management, systems implementation, compliance management, quality improvement, talent management, human resources, training and development. Her content project areas include healthcare quality, financing, care delivery, specialty services, including urgent care, behavioral health, and geriatric services, primary care operations, and health plan management. She has also taught undergraduate and graduate courses in project management, negotiations, human resources, quality and healthcare management tracks. Her educational background is that she has a bachelor's in business management with an emphasis in communications and human resource management from Seattle Pacific University. And she has received her MBA through the University of Phoenix, along with a healthcare management certificate. A little bit about her personal background is that she lives in Des Moines, Washington, and is married to her husband, Dave, for almost 32 years, and is a mother of 3 adult children, and has pets of most kinds, and her hobbies include camping, travel, wine tasting, flower gardening, quilting, and reading.
All right. Thank you, Carlos. I think I'm going to have to edit that one. It seems a little long. Always fun to listen about yourself. All right. Well, thank you for joining us today. And I'm excited to talk with you about all the different administrative roles. People often talk about healthcare and they think of clinical pathways and care. And obviously that makes a lot of sense. But healthcare is a very large and diverse business, and it needs people to attend to many different business aspects in order for it to be successful, viable, safe, and welcoming for our patients. So I hope that will intrigue you enough for you to enjoy what we're going to learn today. So as you just heard, my name is Kathrina Westby-Sharman, and I'll be presenting today. And Carlos is our skilled moderator and facilitator who is recording this session and will be helping capture your comments in the chat for Q&A later. So guests in the room, if you don't mind going ahead and chatting the following. The chat button is usually at the very bottom of your screen. If you want to open that up and add your name, where you currently live, and one thing that you would like to learn from this session. And we'll make sure that we get those addressed at the end. And feel free to add that at any time if questions come up along the way. So in our time today, we're going to introduce several different administrative career paths and help you think about envisioning the right one for you. Why choose a career path at community health centers is also something I want to talk about, because I feel like this audience could particularly offer some connections with a community health center that might be rewarding for you. And to help you keep it in focus, we've got a Q&A at the end with a couple prizes. So pay attention as we go along. So envision administrative healthcare paths. So let's talk about the different pathways. As I said, healthcare is a large business, and there are many things that are required that are often face-to-face, but many of them are actually behind the scenes that keep the business of providing healthcare a viable thing over time. So I'm going to talk through a couple of those. Customer service and direct patient care are probably the most obvious ones when you call and get someone on a call center to help you appoint or to answer your questions or to get follow-up information when you're walking into a site and someone's greeting you and helping you get checked in, or helping you as you exit understand what your next steps are. That's all kind of in that customer service piece of things. And they also tend to be the first part of the revenue cycle, which is a term I'll explain a little bit for healthcare, and that they're often making sure insurances are set up correctly and that we have all your contact information and that you know where you need to go when you're there for your visit. So it's a really, really important role. Health information management is one that is more behind the scenes. And it's actually a specialty field that has many different levels and roles in it, but it's really about records and information management. And it's gotten pretty high tech as well. So when, as a patient, maybe you've needed to get records, or when you get an after visit summary that happens, or you've had a referral and you're wanting to see your x-rays or have them come back, all of that really comes and goes and is housed in a very careful way in the electronic health record and is monitored because there are rules around how people access care for both your protection, HIPAA rules, that kind of thing. So it's a pretty complex and very specialized field as well. Information technology and analytics, as you can imagine, in all aspects of our lives, information technology and the ability to understand all the data being collected are really critical in almost every role. And they also have a really dynamic patient-facing component, things like patient portals you might have on your phone that allow you to interact with your care team in a way that is convenient for you, that may be asynchronous. So all that technology talking well together and still providing a very secure and safe storage and access to information, pretty big stuff and very exciting and dynamic, because it isn't just about the technology, it's also about security and safety and all of those things coming together. Talent management. Talent management, human resources, it has a lot of real interesting special pieces to it in healthcare that might be different from another industry because of all the different disciplines and credentials and requirements that all the people who work in healthcare have. It's a different environment. Recruiting in it and the demand for it, all the things that you might have in normal talent management, you would have in a healthcare setting, but with some special nuances where you get to learn about the roles and the scope of the roles and how you interact with them across the organization. So it tends to be a very rich pathway in the healthcare field. I mentioned revenue cycle earlier. Revenue cycle and financing are important. If you think about healthcare, and you'll hear everyone talk about the growing cost of healthcare, about the burden of getting healthcare, about the cost of insurance, and behind the scenes, kind of the cost of covering claims and things that come in. All of that really has to do with the revenue cycle and the importance of where a patient's own financial situation is intersecting with their insurance. It's intersecting with the visibility of understanding costs. There's a lot of work going on right now about transparency of healthcare costs so that patients and clients can be more informed about the decisions they're making. So this is an evolving and more complicated world by the day. And it's really important because it can have a dramatic patient impact as well. And then there's the idea of practice management, healthcare leadership, supervision, and management. So all of those fields I mentioned all have opportunities for leadership, both from frontline supervision all the way up through director or vice president, or actually leading a healthcare enterprise. There is also a lot of nuances within there. So depending on the type of healthcare. So as you've gone to other sessions, you've probably heard about different settings. So it could be primary care, it could be specialty care, it could be behavioral health, it could be hospital, it could be travel medicine. So there's a lot of different places that people will build their specialties. But the idea of actually healthcare leadership itself is in a way a specialty within a specialty. And I'll talk a little bit more about how that could be built over time too, if that's what you want to do. That was what I envisioned for myself, and that is how my career has developed. If you'd like to know more about current different pathways or positions, I have mentioned HealthPoint's website where I work. We're always looking for good people, and it's a great way to go explore and understand what positions look like and what is out there. I recommend you do that for any of the healthcare institutions that have presented today to help you envision roles that make sense for you and focus on next steps. All right, so how can I envision doing this work? Who's good and healthcare administrative roles. So I'm sure you've heard very similar characteristics as you've talked with other people and heard about other roles throughout this week. It's a lot the same in healthcare, but there's a couple of these that I like to call out. People focused. Almost every single one of these jobs is either caring for patients and clients themselves, or it is working with people who are doing that frontline work, and you're in service of them, in service of the patient. So caring about people, being kind and compassion, it's a team activity, and working with others is fun and it's rewarding if you like working with people. And then natural customer service skills. Most people are not seeking healthcare when they're healthy. They're seeking healthcare because they have something that they need to fix or address. It's not always the case, but still, most people don't wake up going, I want to go to the doctor today because it would be fun. So they may be in pain, they may be in stress, they may be worried. Your customer service skills really come into play right now. Can you be service oriented, patient, a really good listener? And again, like working with people. The other thing about healthcare that I love, and it's perfect for folks who have this inclination to be learners and to adapt, is that change is constant in healthcare. So if you're able to be open and nimble and learn and flex, adjust, and lead in that environment, either as a content person or in bringing your unique skills, it's critical. Similar to that, do you work well in a fast-moving environment? So it isn't always fast moving, but it often is, right? You have a patient in line, you've got people on the call, you've got a pandemic that you're trying to respond to. So all of these things can influence what feels like a very fast moving environment. The fun part about it is the days fly by, and I enjoy that part, but not everyone might. So I like to call that out. And then the final one, I think most of us are driven to healthcare because we want to make an impact. But what people often don't think about is what an impact you can have in the healthcare environment by choosing an administrative role. So you're still helping people in need, you're serving teams, and you're a part of a safety net working with other talented and caring people to make our communities healthier. It takes a team. Healthcare is teamwork. And I feel like I have impact every day by helping others provide that direct patient care in a safe environment. All right, how do I focus and get prepared? What do I need to do to think about these roles? So let's say you are saying, yes, I'm kind of intrigued. How do I check them out more? So think about where you see yourself working. And I love to tell people, go look at job descriptions. If you find yourself getting excited or going, I think I could do that, then you're hearing something that's telling you something about it. If you're reading it going, that sounds boring, or I don't know if I could do that day in and day out, that's probably not something you can envision yourself doing. And then think about the area. Is there something you have a particular passion about? Do you like working with seniors or older people? So geriatrics might be it. Do you like the little kiddos? Pediatrics might be it. Do you like the idea of helping someone in an emergency? Then maybe hospital or urgent care might be your thing. And do you like to be at the front desk, helping them, greeting them, reassuring them? Or do you want to be hands-on, helping them figure out their bills or their resources? There's so many different ways that you can prepare and think about where you want to work. So spend some time thinking about that, being intentional about what energizes you, where you think your natural skills are. That helps you make decisions that are impactful and move your career along. And then I also want to say, do your research. I've mentioned this a couple times, but before you apply for a position, learn about the company. While healthcare may be a shared industry, not every company is the same. Not every one has the same mission or culture within it. And it isn't just about the work you do, it's who you're doing the work with and the company you're with. And those are important things to understand and to figure out. So do your research. It also helps you in an interview, and seek to understand the role and the services provided so you're prepared to do your best. And then focus on getting some experience. Right now is a great time to think about moving into entry-level healthcare administrative roles because the market's short of people. We need people. And because of that, I think a lot of organizations are saying, if you've got the right attributes, we'll teach you the rest. And from there, you get experience and you start to refine your own intent and inform your path. This is work I like. This is work I don't like. This, I think I could do this, but I want to go further. You start to get your pathway in place. So consider going and just starting and getting some experience because it teaches you a lot and Healthcare tends to really, really prefer people who have had healthcare experience because they're able to adapt really quickly. And then vision hires tend to be promoted from within because they already have the content and they know the team and they've done the work itself. And they're often in active, what we call shared leadership roles where they might be doing the work and the supervision. So a working supervisor. So the people that I tend to hire for roles like that, they are the ones who went above and beyond for their team. They led, they showed up with good outcomes. They did the job they were already hired in really well and helped their peers. Those are the ones that are real naturals for future promotions. Or you may not want to lead people or supervise, but you love being an expert. We call those SMEs in healthcare, and we have them on the clinical side and we have them on the administrative side. Those are the folks that continue to progress and really learn a job well and learn content well. So for instance, health and information management, like I mentioned that earlier, that becomes a subject matter area of expertise. And so there's lots of areas that you can really go to school on that. And then you tend to get promoted in a track that's more of SME track. Analysts are another area. They really learn the healthcare data and they progress down more of an analyst track. Or are you envisioning eventually being a manager, director, or higher, like I mentioned earlier? Usually these positions are going to require something else in addition to your progressive work and your good performance, and that is further education. So if that's something you're thinking about, either after you've gained some experience and you're really sure you've got the right pathway, you can think about school at that time, or you can think about as you go through school and then graduating where you might start. But whatever you do, there's several different pathways. Look for learning organizations. And by that, I mean organizations that foster and support their employees in their learning journey, because healthcare learning never ends. And organizations that are good at it, they're thinking about ways to encourage their staff to continue to grow and learn within the company. And they provide opportunities like scholarships or residencies or practicums or rotations where you get opportunities to continue to further your education, or they're really supportive if you're going back to school and still working with them in some capacity. So all of those areas can help you think about how you build and gain some additional education around healthcare management, which is often there, but there's also specialty things around information technology, health information management, those types of programs that are available in higher education through bachelor level or master's level programs. I also can't talk to folks without talking about community health centers. I have a passion around this. I work for one, and I feel that especially with this audience group, it's important to help you understand why this could be a good pathway for you to consider in terms of where you might want to bring your healthcare administrative skill set. So I'll talk about HealthPoint first. HealthPoint is an FQHC. That means a federally qualified health center. That's how we're paid. And we are part of larger community health centers. Our dedication is to serve populations that tend to be marginalized. They're going to be lower income. They're BIPOC communities. They may be underinsured, uninsured. We're a part of the safety net. And we are uniquely set up to try to take insurances or lack of insurance that most other healthcare institutions prefer not to, because those aren't as profitable for them. And this is our bread and butter. This is what we do. I know that HealthPoint is the largest healthcare provider for our refugee community. So the diversity of the patients you serve is also really, really rich. And you feel like you're not only providing healthcare, which is important, but you're providing it to critical communities where it may have been more difficult to get or is even more strongly needed. So HealthPoint helps improve the health of the communities we live in, and all community health centers are really dedicated to doing that and providing employment opportunities through them. So when we hire from our community members come in and they see folks like them. They see someone who also knows their language and can help them welcome and overcome barriers that get in the way of care and communication, and helps them feel safer about the care they're getting. So we love to hire from our communities and grow from within. It's not just a job. You can actually grow a career at a community health center. So something to think of, again, if you'd like to know more about HealthPoint, but there are other FQHCs. like CMAR and Neighbor Care, ICHS, and others in Pierce County. Those are all just in King County. So something to think about. I will also say those in the clinical pathways, we have residency programs, and there are incentives for providers to come work at an FQHC. And in that process, they often can participate in a debt forgiveness program that helps pay for their education afterwards. So that's a pretty big incentive to think about as well. You make a difference and you have help with your debt.
They had a question. They said, I've heard that healthcare administration begins with people and ends with people, especially in the field of project management. Has your experience reflected this belief? And if so, how do you develop strong relationships with the people you work with internally and externally? How can high school students develop those people skills?
Wow, those are great questions. And I'll love to answer them. And I actually was a project manager in healthcare for a lot of years. So it's something that I've got a fair amount of experience in. First of all, I like to say that relationships are the currency in healthcare. It's how you make everything happen. It's through relationships. It's relationships with our patients. It is relationships with our colleagues. It's even relationships with the content. So that's critical. And I always start by really trying to understand the problem we're solving, the needs of stakeholders. So project management, you're always identifying who is your stakeholder for the work that you're doing. What are their needs? What are their concerns? What are their barriers? That type of early SWOT analysis and really getting deep into the stakeholder needs helps you understand and create those relationships and make sure as you guide the project work that you're paying attention to those things or resolving those barriers. So that's one tool that I've always used as a way to discover what the needs of the people I'm working with are up front in a project. If you're a high school student, you're wanting to get experience. The funny thing is that project management is a large discipline. It's also got a lot of specialties. So if I am a project manager in IT versus a project manager for engineering versus a project manager in healthcare, I might need very, very different skill sets. Even at our company, we have IT project managers, and then we have facility project managers, and then we have kind of healthcare operations project managers. And they tend to have different backgrounds, experience, and understanding. And it's more important to really understand the care and service we provide and those relationships with the people and the impacted patient if you're doing more of the operations project management. But almost every body of work that we do is project management or project coordination. And if you can kind of learn those building blocks of understanding up front, really having clear focus, what is the scope of the problem I'm trying to solve? Who are the stakeholders? So if you start to approach your work that way and even start to understand those components, then you can look for jobs like a project coordinator or even other coordinator type roles. There's a next session coming up that from HealthPoint, Ashley is going to present on around what it takes to be a program manager. Well, a lot of that starts with being really good at little projects and then kind of how those projects all come together within a program. And Ashley might touch on that a little bit. So just start to understand what the components are of a project and then start to think of the work you're doing, even in high school, as little mini projects. Then you start to be able to talk about your work in an entry-level role that says, you know, I have this project and I did this and I identified the stakeholders and I understood this. We needed to get it done in X amount of time. And, you know, and I was able to be successful, and here were the outcomes from my project. When people hear you start to talk that way, they have confidence in you.
Kathrina,
Thank you so much for your participation today, and Carlos, for your excellent moderation and facilitation. I've really appreciated it. Have a good day.
Thank you.